Welcome to another edition of the MapleDesk podcast. Recently, we had a chance to go to the University of Toronto Scarborough campus and meet up with Dr. Philip Wright. In his office, he told us, as you're about to see, why the university uses sunrays and how they've deployed them. They've done some interesting things. Here's Dr. Wright.
So I'm Philip Wright. I'm Director of Information and Instructional Technology Services at the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. We provide a whole range of services for the campus of just over 10,000 users. We support the desktop with help desk services, full Windows desktop service, Linux desktop wherever possible, and Mac as well. We support 500 workstations in the labs and the library commons. We support 120 computers in a research cluster. We also support all the main internet services for the campus and centralized storage as well. So we adopted our first sunrays just over 4 years ago. We were looking at thin clients for several reasons, primarily connected with centralizing support. We were about to double in size as a campus grow from 5,000 to 10,000, and we weren't getting any more in the way of administrators for support on the desktop in the labs. So we wanted to have a configuration that would support up to 500 or 600 desktops without adding a whole lot in the way of administrative overhead. We also wanted to aggregate the CPU horsepower, the cycles on the desktop, so that we could redeploy them and reuse them in various ways, especially for research. So instead of having CPUs sitting out there that were using up resources and spending cycles ticking over doing nothing, it would be nice to be able to use them for research and be flexible in the way we use the horsepower. In the library, we've got sunrays deployed in a couple of different locations for a couple of different purposes. At the front of the library, we have a couple of rows of sunrays that are set up for basically browser lookups of the library catalog and easy access to key URLs that are of particular interest to students, so our intranet and www sites. The farther back you go into the informatics commons in the library, you get to sunrays that are hooked up to Windows terminal servers, and there students get full Windows desktop with all the productivity applications loaded onto them. We also have up on the fourth floor in our computer labs full Windows desktops for about 100 sunrays up there as well. In addition to those three locations, we also support sunrays in labs in other buildings here. We've got a couple of research clusters that we support centrally, and we've made the access to the command line and all their applications available via sunrays in our science building. So students in an astronomy lab, a neural network simulation lab, and a math lab all have access to the computers via sunray terminals. One of the things we like about sunrays is that they give us an enormous amount of flexibility as to what we display on the terminal itself. In September, when students arrive on campus, they need to register for computer accounts. It was pretty difficult to do that with PCs. The sunrays give us an awful lot of flexibility because we can attach them to different servers, and that means different applications very quickly. So when students arrive on campus now, we turn over a good portion of our 200 sunrays to make the registration form available to them. Sign up is easy now, and it happens without intervention on our part. Students certainly don't have to go through the lineup process that they used to. And then as the first and the second week pass, we peel off the sunrays and turn them over to full Windows desktops. So it's a very flexible arrangement that we have that allows us to redeploy the kinds of desktop or computing resources that students have access to as the year progresses. We deployed Sunrays in our digital signage system that we created here on campus. A lot of the commercial systems that we looked at involved loading PCs out to various locations on campus and connecting them to signs. They were good systems, but we wanted to reduce the amount of maintenance and increase the amount of security for the computers that are driving the signs. Sunrays allowed us to do that pretty easily, and they fit on the back of the 42-inch LCDs that are driving the signage solution really easily and securely. And they're also zero maintenance. We don't have to worry about operating system upgrades or hardware breakdowns of any kind. So it's a very low cost, almost zero maintenance system. Support for the Sunrays really boils down to having small time slices of a couple of different administrators. And we're using a couple of different administrators just because we're offering up a Windows platform as well as a Linux and Solaris platform. So Sunray services run for us on a Solaris platform. We have a time slice of our network administrator who manages that portion of the system, and then we have a small time slice of our Windows desktop administrator, and he manages the Windows terminal server side of things. One of the things we had to worry about with PCs was locking down the PCs so that people couldn't get into them for, to remove memory or hard drives. Unfortunately, that sort of thing happens. So the fact that the Sunrays don't have any moving parts makes the security issue go away. Everything's on the server side. It's locked away and treated just like the rest of our servers are. People get access only to the interfaces that we want them to have access to. Sunrays also have USB capabilities, and we can open up the ports or close them down as we like, so we can limit the amount of access people have to USB capabilities, which makes us very happy. The way we think about refreshing the desktops is quite different with Sunrays than it is with PCs. For one thing, the Sunrays themselves are simply, very dumb terminals. They supply video and network to a screen, and we've only had one fail in 5 years, and we expect them to last for several years to come. So where we would normally replace a desktop computer every 3 or 4 years, we're looking at getting significantly many more years out of our investment right up front. Where we've got 10,000 people banging on them, the PCs take a fair bit of abuse. That's one good reason to want to refresh them every 3 or 4 years. The other reason you'd want to do it is to increase the horsepower for new applications or operating systems. With Sunrays, we think about it entirely differently. We think about it in terms of just adding horsepower, and that means just adding a new server. Because the Sunrays are all driven by a pool of servers in a cluster, if we want to add more horsepower, we simply drop another server into the pool. And that makes for very easy upgrades, but it also means that we can run servers an awful lot longer than we would be able to run desktops. So again, whereas we would clear desktops out every 3 or 4 years, we can run to failure with servers, and certainly with Sun servers, we're looking at more than 4 years. We can routinely see 5, 6, 7 year service from service. So we're getting a huge return on investment with this sort of deployment.